says now that the bond is posted, they are ready to get the verdict thrown out. Brooke Sigmund is here with the next steps in this case. Good morning, Brooke.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, the former president taking to Truth Social shortly after posting bond, saying, quote, I've just posted a $175 million bond with the sadly failing and very troubled state of New York based on a corrupt judge and attorney general who used a statute that was never used for this before. The case was a fabricated election interference con job so bad for New York, where businesses are fleeing and violent crime is flourishing. The 2024 Republican presumptive nominee originally owed $454 million, but an appeals court cut the bond by more than half. Now, AG James is barred from collecting the full judgment while the appeals process plays out. The former president's lawyer saying he, quote, looks forward to vindicating his rights on appeal and overturning this unjust verdict. Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy also slamming the case against Trump. Listen.
It's an example of this weaponized system of justice. Imagine the same shoe fit the other foot. What would the media's treatment be? We're not a country where a political party in power and a president weaponizes the justice system to go after his political opponents in the middle of an election. At least that's not what the United States of America is supposed to be. That is the stuff of banana republics. And I am worried, Sean, we are skating on thin ice as a country right now. Donald Trump is the one they're going after today. Well, it can be any American tomorrow.
Judge Engoron found former President Trump liable for fraud last year and in February ruled that he inflated his assets in order to secure better tax and insurance benefits. If former President Trump does not win on appeal, he will be forced to pay the $454 million judgment. Trump must file all of his appeals papers in time for the appellate division's department's September term.
I bet there's rich folks eating from a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming. I know I can be free. But those people keep a moving, and that's what tortures me.
I love that meme. The reason I love that meme so much is that you have Melania Trump as June Carter Cash. It works so perfectly. Melania just bouncing around. Ooh, man. Baby, we got a very interesting show today, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Trump's gag order is expanded to include the family of the corrupt New York judge. Why would that be? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump can't speak about it, so we will on the show. Hunter Biden is dealt another blow as Judge tosses effort to have tax charges dismissed. Hunter Biden down bad, not looking great. Hunter Biden was at the Easter celebration at the White House yesterday. Of course, couldn't talk about Jesus, can't talk about crosses, can't talk about religion at all. Just Easter. Easter is just about the plastic eggs and the candy and the Easter bunny. Remember that. And your cokehead kid going up and like kissing children, which he did at the White House, and is super creepy. We'll cover it all today. Devin Nunes joins the show to talk about Donald Trump becoming one of the richest men in the world again. Richer than George Soros right now. That's very interesting. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Make sure that you stay up with our show on breaking news, because we will be here for you. Be here for us. We love this audience. We thank you for watching, and we thank you for watching on a Patriot Mobile device. Patriot Mobile is the only conservative Christian wireless provider in America, the only one that really, truly backs free speech. Every single day, you hear another news story about Verizon Wireless or some other cell phone company handing over records, breaking your First Amendment rights. Not Patriot Mobile. They use the same networks as every other company. They have dependable service. We use them on the road all the time. We're going to be traveling again in the coming weeks. Patriot Mobile goes with us everywhere we go, and it keeps us connected on the road. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, patriotmobile.com/Benny, or 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation with the offer code Benny. Join today, make the switch, and make sure that you are speaking free. You know what I mean? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's a old comedian. I say old. He was around in my lifetime, but he was very famous. He's not with us anymore. His name was George Carlin, and he was a beloved comedian. He was a very raspy guy. He was very And is very forward and grisly and a truth teller. And just one of those like hardcore, old school, bare knuckle, chain smoking comedians. And he has this clip where he talks about the powerful in America. And it must be 30 years old now. And he says, hey, it's all a big club and you ain't in it. Right? You ain't in it. And it's all a joke. And they're manipulating the people and abusing and using us, and they're getting rich and taking it to the bank, and they're destroying our lives. And more importantly, they're destroying anything that stands in their way. And there was once a man who was part of that elite club. There was once a man who was invited to every tete-a-tete, to every little affair, to every fancy party, to the Oscars. A man who was roasted on Comedy Central by Snoop Dogg. A man who had his own roast where all the celebrities attended. Hillary Clinton was at his wedding. Right? Hillary and Bill Clinton bowed their heads and attended this man's wedding to celebrate him. They loved him so much. Man's name was Donald Trump. And then something crazy happened that nobody was counting on. That same guy decided that he was going to flip the tables, expose them all, and run for president. Well, you're not allowed to run for president, not unless we say so, say the elites and the oligarchs, on both sides, right? Unless your last name is Romney, McCain, or Bush, you weren't allowed to run for president as a Republican. Don't you understand? We control all of this, right? We control the party. We control the apparatus. You don't control anything. Your last name isn't Bush. Recall that they literally tried to shove Jeb down our throats in 2016. In fact, it was Jeb Bush who came into the race with a $100 million war chest. Jeb Bush. They'd tried Romney. They'd tried McCain. And so they were going back for round 3 with the Bush family. Can you believe that? I mean, like on its face, how insulting. You know, how many families are there in America? How many good patriots are there in America? And they're going to take the same, like, despicable, like, weak, limp-wristed, deep state-obsessed, CIA operative Bush family. I say that because Daddy Bush ran the CIA, like, for, 30 years. So at what point, do you, say, what, we've been completely, the party's been completely compromised. They were going at it again. Mr. Please Clap Guacamole Bowl, Jeb Bush. I say that because Jeb Bush sold guacamole bowls on his embarrassing campaign website. It's so funny. So it didn't work out, right? The guy had to beg people to clap for him, right? Please clap, Jeb. Please clap. Donald Trump decided to break that system. Donald Trump spent his entire life breaking systems. And he decided to say this is wrong. He said a lot of wrong, done a lot of things. If you read The Art of the Deal, the Woolman Rink story, it's really remarkable. New York had been trying to build an ice rink in Central Park for nigh on 2 decades. Couldn't get it done. Donald Trump got it done in 3 months. Donald Trump just breaks systems. He breaks systems. And he calls out people who are broken, like the guy who tried to sell you a guacamole bowl. This is what the Republican Party was just a few years ago. A couple years ago. This was what they wanted to shove down our throat. They wanted to offer up, like the Old Testament, a sacrificial lamb to Hillary Clinton, for Hillary Clinton to feast on. Mr. Guacamole Bowl. That was this is the America First Patriotic Party candidate. Okay? This is directly from the website. There you go. Here's Jeb's website. So Donald Trump is a fixer. He's a guy who destroys and broken old systems, and he's a guy who fixes things, like the Woolman Rink, for instance. It's just a great example of Donald Trump cutting through all the bullshit and getting something done. Anyway, it was Jeb Bush who was supposed to be the sacrificial lamb for Hillary Clinton to feast on. Yet, as it turns out, Hillary Clinton was the one getting feasted upon. And the velociraptor that went on the attack, right? I was seeing how to Jurassic Park, you know, see, they lower the cow into the velociraptor pit. Right? Like that was Hillary Clinton during the debates. And the raptor was Trump. And there was this moment where I personally believe Trump crossed a line, right? Where like these elites who had loved Trump, invited him to his parties, donated to Trump, like really liked the guy, always like was going on his shows, was like asking him for favors, asking him for money, where all these elites finally snapped, okay? Some say it's his ISIS comment, but I say when he said that, you know, Hillary Clinton created ISIS, which is true. Interesting that ISIS continues to carry out terrorist attacks to this day. I thought they were defeated. What is going on here? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Donald Trump said this to Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton was going after Donald Trump for being a rich person. Hillary Clinton decided to attack Trump and say, "You're rich. You know, I attended your wedding. I loved going to your mansions. I loved staying with you. You know, but anytime that Bill couldn't fly in the Lolita Express or Jeffrey Epstein was otherwise booked, you know, we made sure to hang out with you, Donald." Right? Yeah. Somebody with a private jet's got to fly us around. Hillary Clinton decided that when she was done taking advantage of the luxuries that Trump so kindly offered to her, that she would attack Donald Trump for being rich, even though Hillary Clinton took Trump's money. She decided that this would be a fruitful line of attack. And in this moment, Donald Trump exposed everything. I would argue that this perhaps is the moment where everything began to the entire universe of elites turned against Trump because he exposed so much in this short answer. Here it is.
And she could have done this years ago, by the way. She was a United States senator. She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax code. Well, why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it when you were a senator? The reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do. And I do. You have provisions in the tax code that, frankly, we could change. But you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump.
Oh, so it's just a talking point. Hillary Clinton, you wrote the tax code. You're now complaining about the tax code that I take advantage of, Donald Trump says. You wrote the damn thing. You're responsible for it. So how are you coming at me? I haven't been serving in office. Hillary, you're a freaking fossil. You're a parasite. You're one of those sucker fish on the inside of the aquarium, on the wall, eating the sludge. You've been in politics your entire life. You've been writing bills. You were first lady. Your husband was president. You didn't do jack to change the tax code. You're going to attack me for going at it? You wrote the tax code. Ooh, and in that moment, man, the cathedral is shattered. And Donald Trump shows the elites for who they really are. People that don't care about you, don't care about me. They don't care about party. They don't care about country. They care about getting as rich as humanly possible off the backs of the rest of us and strip mining this place dry. Ladies and gentlemen, when Donald Trump exposed that game that the Bushes are guilty of, the Obamas are guilty of, the Bidens are guilty of, an important reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the Bidens, one of the big deals they were structuring, in fact, the 10% for the big guy deal, is to sell American energy off to the communist Chinese. They were going to strip mine our precious natural resources and give them to the commies in order to build up their military, build up their economy, and destroy our economy. They don't care about you. They don't care about this country. This country is the Titanic, as far as they're concerned, and they're ripping the brass off. They're grabbing the giant diamonds, size of your fist, and they're sprinting for the lifeboats. That's the way that they see this. Parasites, parasitic nature, rats. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump called them out. This is the thing they can't have you see or observe. They must distract you, bread and circuses. And if you knew about this, you'd get really angry and you'd probably punish the ruling class. Well, Donald Trump said those kind of things in the debates, and then he won because people started to see, just peer in just a little bit into how the elites operate. And what I think is so important about this learning moment here is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. once you know what's going on, you realize everything is fake, that none of it's real, that these people are moral betters. They're not defending democracy. They're destroying democracy. In fact, these are the people who are guilty of the exact same thing that they accuse us of doing. They are guilty, ladies and gentlemen, of everything that they say that Donald Trump is doing. This leads us very nicely to our first story here, ladies and gentlemen, but it's really important to note that this is happening everywhere. Everywhere. That all of these people are frauds. They're not your moral betters. They are duplicitous. Duplicitous. They are morally repugnant. And if they had a soul, well, then their soul would be screaming to the church pew on bended knee asking forgiveness, right? It's a good example. Perfect example. Fanny Willis, we talk about her a lot on the show. She's prosecuting Donald Trump. She's Trump's moral better. She is a woman who ran in order to clean up the district attorney's office in Fulton County because the district attorney's office was, embezzling money and banging their staff members. She actually promised the people of Fulton County she wouldn't do that. Watch.
Guarantee you, was with my reputation, with my community ties, I am going to be able to attract the best and the brightest minds to that office. You're sitting with someone today that actually wants to make a difference because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees, because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children, because we deserve better.
Wow, we won't get a DA that puts money in their own pocket and won't sleep with their employees. Just a few short months after she made those campaign promises, ladies and gentlemen, we're treated to this moment in court.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
All this time we've been together, thought a thing would last forever. Through thick and thin, good or bad, all I was happy, never sad. Now it's all gone sour, getting worse by the hour. Let's break up now. No.
You've never gone to a cabin with this?
No.
Oh, okay. Obviously my favorite meme from all of that. They're liars, right? It's important to note that these people are not moral arbiters of the law. They're just liars. They are people who, given any justice in our system, would they themselves be the ones being prosecuted. Now, this is happening all over the place. This is happening across the spectrum of Trump prosecutions. In New York, there's a lady named Letitia James. Some call her the Fanny Willis of the North. Letitia James gets booed by all the cops and firefighters in New York City. Letitia James is an embarrassing disgrace. Letitia James explained that it's all one big club and you're not in it to Donald Trump, right? Letitia James explained that Donald Trump's greatest sin in the city of New York was not, of course, building an empire, bringing untold wealth unto the state with his own brands and fixing the Woolman rink and all of these various wonderful things that Donald Trump has done for the state of New York. His sin is engaging in a common practice for realtors, which is to guess, effectively, best guess the prices of your assets. Since you don't intend on selling your skyscrapers because that's what's making you money, you're going to have to get a loan against them. You're going to have to assume what prices they are. This is actually something the state of New York is trying to do, and even the New York Times is admitting it's really hard to do. This is how you guess the price of a house. You want to go buy a house? Here's how it works. They list a price. You go in, you say, no, it's worth that price, and you negotiate, and hopefully you get the house. Maybe you don't. Either way, somebody's guessing at a price. It's quite literally exactly what Donald Trump did. Paid back his loans in full. The banks even testified on his behalf. But that's not the point. The point is that Donald Trump broke the rules. He talked about the elites, he exposed the big con, he exposed the big game, and therefore Trump must go down. And they go to obviously the dumbest and the lowest IQ people, like Fanny, Willis, Letitia James, in order to do that. Letitia James openly, excitedly telling you what she's going to do to Trump. This is how she ran for her office.
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. I believe that the president of these United States can be indicted for criminal offenses.
Will you sue him for us? Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
That man in the White House who can't go a day without threatening our fundamental rights.
Yes, we need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses. We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. We need to find out whether or not he's engaged in conspiracy. It's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
What's interesting here, ladies and gentlemen, is much like how Fanny Willis finds herself in her own RICO case right now, after charging Trump with RICO. Letitia James, if you go through her expenses as a public servant, you'll find out that she has been spending lavish amounts of taxpayer dollars, lavish amounts of campaign funds on herself, committing much more egregious frauds against the taxpayers of New York than you could ever try and paint Donald Trump for doing. And notice in those clips, she already assumed the crime. This is what Stalin says. This is why we call these people Marxists. Stalin says, show me the man, I'll show you the crime, right? Actually, Levante Berra, the guy who was the enforcer for Stalin. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. This is the Great Purge, the Great Red Scare, as they call it, in Russia. This is how Stalin went and hunted down, and quite literally, every political enemy, every person who disagreed with him, just people at random to keep the fear levels up. He would just drag them into court. He would find out that they'd paid all their loans and they'd never committed a single crime, but they'd put them in jail. And this is exactly what Fannie Willis did, is exactly what Letitia James did. I just know Trump's guilty. That's it. I know Trump's guilty. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. It's not obviously the way that the American justice system is supposed to work out. Like, the American justice system is predicated upon, well, there is no, if there's no victim in the crime, there is no crime. Kind of like the greater overall function of the justice system. If there's no show me the victim, okay, to even start all of this, and you're innocent until proven guilty. So what does it say about us, or specifically the state of New York, that you can have some raving Marxist lunatic like Letitia James running around saying that Donald Trump's guilty? I've seen no evidence, but Donald Trump's guilty. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the system that we're dealing with. We could do this all day, right? Be a 20-hour show. And Rolls-Royce is saying, no 20-hour show, not today, please. I'm getting new internet at my place. Ladies and gentlemen, one final example. They straight up raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago because he mishandled documents. Yet, according to the federal government, Joe Biden not only is mishandling documents, but straight up like benefiting off of the classified documents that he stole from the federal government. In fact, Trump's lawyers are like this close to getting the documents case, which was the winner of all the cases, thrown out based on the fact that the federal government declined to charge Joe Biden, because he has dementia, effectively, for doing the exact same thing, but far worse, because Joe Biden wasn't president when he stole classified documents and then used them to enrich himself. So, everything they accuse you of doing, this is the iron law of wokeness, everything they accuse you of doing, they themselves are guilty of. And so, let's get to our first story here, okay? The judge in this brand new case, claiming that Donald Trump is a fraudster, right? In his payments of Stormy Daniels. Trump's gag order is expanded to stop attacks on the family of the judge in the hush money trial. Okay? So that's interesting. So Trump can't talk about it. The judge ruled that Trump can't talk about the judge or his family. Now that's a little odd, right? It's a little strange. Why would the judge do that? Well, let's look into the judge's family, shall we? Trump is banned from talking about this, so it's our job to talk about it. Same thing with Fanny Willis. It's our job to expose these things. So let's go. So the judge specifically here wrote that the Judge Merchan is his name. An expanding gag order includes his Democrat operative daughter. Democrat operative? What does that mean? I don't want Trump to use his massive platform to expose the truth about my daughter's lucrative business contracts with Democrats, is effectively what the judge wrote in his order. This according to Julie Kelly. Well, exactly how lucrative are these contracts, ladies and gentlemen, with the judge's daughter and Democrats? Well, Julie Kelly has the receipts here. Holy schmoly. Monthly payments from Adam Schiff's campaign committee to Lauren Merchan, this is the judge's daughter's Authentic Campaigns Company, in 2019 to 2020. Would you look at this? Hundreds of thousands of dollars per month being paid, sometimes up to $300,000, $600,000. So you're talking, you're like rounding the corner on $1 million a month being paid to the judge's daughter from Adam Schiff. Would you look at that? The ties between Judge Merchan's child and Adam Schiff represents a major conflict of interest. Hush money trial. Lauren Merchan's firm was paid $4 million by Adam Schiff at the time that he conspired with Michael Cohen to take down Donald Trump. Cohen will be a witness in Judge Merchan's courtroom next month. Wow. Would you look at that? I wonder why they're banning Donald Trump from talking about this. At the end of 2019, Representative Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, was leading the first impeachment of President Donald Trump. After months of making accusations and conducting congressional inquiries related to Trump's 2019 call with President Zelensky, so it really is amazing, though. The webs we weave. A conversation Democrats described as a quid pro quo, attempting to trade military aid for investigation of the Biden family corruption deals. Schiff and 6 other Democrats delivered articles of impeachment to the Senate. At that same month, Schiff's campaign committee paid new Chicago-based consulting firm $600,000 for digital media buys, presumably to spread the word via email, text, and social media online advertising that a California congressman had planned to oust Trump. The firm, Authentic Campaigns, is headed by Lauren Merchan, the 34-year-old daughter of New York judge now overseeing the so-called hush money case against Trump. Judge Juan Merchan just set an April 15th trial date for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's multi-count indictments accusing Trump of falsifying business records related to the payout of former porn star Stormy Daniels over an alleged sexual encounter. Trump repeatedly denies this allegation. Contrary to the hand-wringing assertions that the former president and his allies are unfairly attacking Judge's child, Lauren Merchan's lucrative contracts with some of Trump's most prolific enemies are fair game. Her ties to Schiff, especially troubling, given Schiff's role in refurbishing the reputation of one of Bragg's star witnesses, disbarred lawyer and convicted perjurer Michael Cohen. Wow. Maybe this is why. Maybe also Donald Trump behind bars being your avatar, which is Lauren Merchan's cover image. Her avatar, her cover image is blue because I don't know. She's a Democrat. I don't know. But her avatar on X is Trump behind bars. Can we zoom in there? Thank you. Look at that. Whoa. Well, that seems like a potential conflict of interest. I don't know how many kids this judge has. I have 2 daughters. And I can tell you what, like, you wouldn't want me to be the judge in a trial of somebody who my family hates so much that my daughters, who are just very sweet, they don't want anyone, my daughters don't want anyone in jail. Except for the Grinch. They don't like the Grinch. Steals their presents during Christmas. You wouldn't want me to be that judge. If my daughters hate somebody so much that they want him in prison, you would not want me to be the person presiding over that trial. Because got to tell you, the bond between a father and daughter is possibly the strongest bond on earth. Okay? It is stronger than the pull between the nucleus of an atom and an electron. Okay? It is stronger than the actual gravitational pull of the universe. The bond between a father and a daughter. If you're a daughter out there and you have a good father, just a good father who just showed up for you, you understand this. If you're a father out there and you have a daughter or a son, you understand this. So on its face, the fact that his daughter is hoovering up millions of dollars against Trump to put Trump in prison, and that her avatar is Trump in prison, and her dad gets to put Trump in prison, that should be enough. That should be enough. It is actually the judge himself who's guilty of fraud here. It is the judge himself who's defrauding the system, not Donald Trump. Revealed the progressive daughter judge presiding over Donald Trump's hush money case in Manhattan, who worked for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, is swirling speculations of bias against the president. Manhattan judge Juan Merchant's daughter, Lauren, 34, works for progressive digital strategy firms. She was the digital director for Vice President Kamala Harris's 2020 presidential campaign, and she worked for a slew of other Democrat campaigns. Whoa. Okay. Well, there you go. She worked for Kamala Harris. She worked for Joe Biden. Here, we can put the judge and his daughter up on screen. Again, we have sort of a, it's in the article, Royce. We have sort of like a rule here, which is that, like, if you stay out of it, if you don't wish to be part of, like, the public conversation, then we don't want to make you part of the public conversation. But if you're straight up working for Kamala Harris and hoovering up multi-millions for Donald Trump, then you're very much against Donald Trump to put Donald Trump in jail, and your dad is going to try and put Donald Trump in jail, you're very much part of the conversation. You've made yourself part of the conversation. Don't attack a president's child. Hunter Biden, he's only 55 years old, walking around with a little red backpack. Lord knows what's in it. He's only like strapped a GoPro to himself and effectively made his own Wolf of Wall Street movie over the last couple of years, lying to his wife, not paying paternity. Yeah, that guy, that poor guy, right? Yeah, we'll get to Hunter Biden later in the show. You've made yourself a part of the conversation by doing this. There's photos in the article of her wearing Kamala Harris swag. So this Judge Merchant's daughter, Lauren Merchant, she's straight up wearing Kamala Harris shirts. She works for Kamala Harris. You work for Joe Biden. She worked to elect Joe Biden. This is the judge's daughter. People are absolutely losing their minds over this. How corrupt can you possibly be? My favorite on moments like this is obviously Mark Levin's one of my favorites. Some people disagree with Mark Levin on some things. I mean, that's fine. You know, that's actually human and healthy. But on issues like this, because Mark Levin was obviously high-ranking lawyer inside of the Reagan administration, Mark Levin is like primo. Okay? More judiciary tyranny, says Levin. Let me get this straight. New York judge whose daughter is a radical Democrat fundraiser who raised millions for Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer PAC, in part by exploiting the NDA case her father, the judge, is overseeing, and now expanded his unconstitutional gag order on President Trump from criticizing her as well. The American people are getting a ringside view of just how corrupt these Democrat judges are at all levels and how they don't hesitate to trample over the Bill of Rights, especially in free speech. Trump has every right to criticize the judge, the system, the ties of his political daughter, and the ties to left-wing Democrat politicians raising millions in political donations, not only to line her pockets, she is president of the organization raising the campaign funds, but to fund Democrat candidates. Trump is fighting for his freedom and for the election to the presidency, two additional overriding facts that make the judge's ruling an abomination. No, Trump has not threatened any of them with violence through his comments. How are you supposed to run for president? How are you supposed to do it? In what world is anyone ever supposed to run for president again if they're going to do this? Because you see here, this is like the snake eating its own tail, right? Like the snake eats its own tail. Like it's a circular process. Oh, sorry about that. Circular process. Getting excited. if you prosecute Trump and say you're going to put Trump in jail, and if you get money for doing that, the more you prosecute Trump, the more money you raise, then you're going to prosecute Trump more. And the circle continues. The more you prosecute Trump, and by the way, my dad's a judge. Oh, what luck. My dad's a judge who can put Trump in jail. I can raise money by putting Trump in jail. Prosecuting Trump equals more money for me. The circle of life continues. Time is a flat circle. My God, these people are so unbelievably corrupt. Mike Davis sounding off on this. Putting a gag order on a criminal defendant is a clear violation of his constitutional rights. This Democrat judge won't let the law get in his way. Partisan pursuit of Trump. Why doesn't he want the public to know about his adult daughter profiting from the trial? It's exactly what's happening here. Fanny Willis, Robert Hur, all of them. It's the same thing. The iron law of wokeness. We will accuse you of that which we are guilty of, and we will seek to put you in jail faster than you can put us in jail. It is brinksmanship. It's destroying this nation. It really is. I'm so happy that I live in a red state. I mean, to be quite honest, it doesn't exactly absolve me of this kind of garbage. But as Donald Trump says, he flies over a blue state and he gets indicted. Like, get the hell out of these blue states. Get the hell out of these places. Wow. I mean, just unbelievable. Jonathan Turley is, again, a favorite of ours when it comes to these kind of situations. He's saying on Fox, not only is this wrong, like, you're eliminating free speech for president, the presidential candidate, because Donald Trump is the presidential nominee now for the Republican Party. You never seen anything like it.
Lastly, just on the massive gag order put on the former president of the United States in the Alvin Bragg case, because they don't want him talking about Prosecutor Matthew Colangelo, and they don't want him talking about the judge's daughter. But Matthew Colangelo was in the Justice Department with Joe Biden. That is outrageous to President Trump. Also, the fact is, the judge's daughter is a activist who works for Kamala Harris, and there was some dispute on whether she did have a picture up on a website with Donald Trump behind bars. That, to me, is something that if I'm Donald Trump, I'm a little concerned about, that the judge has a daughter who feels this way.
This is a really controversial order, and I think it's wrong. You know, you've got Michael Cohen, who is going on the air every night attacking Trump, or basically campaigning against him. He's not allowed to respond. Now, I would prefer that Trump leave these attacks or issues raised with the judge's family to his counsel. I think that's always the better approach. But you in this case, you had prosecutors pushing this trial right before an election. The judge is assisting in that. And then they want to gag the president from talking about the main issue in the election. Whether they like it or not, this election is likely to turn on this question of the weaponization of the legal system. And so I think that these courts have to acknowledge that. You've got a D.C. judge that says, I'm not going to take any acknowledgement or accommodation for the fact you're running for president. Really? Because you're insisting on trying him all the way up to and possibly through the election.
I mean, it really does raise the question, this whole democracy you're defending, where? Like, where exactly is it? I certainly don't see it anywhere. I certainly don't see it in our legal system. I don't see it when I look at the president of the United States trying to censor speech. Where exactly is this democracy you're defending? When you're demographically trying to change the nation by importing 10 million people from the third world, that's not democracy. It's the opposite of democracy, actually. It's demographic tyranny is what it is. It's rigging the systems that used to exist in this country. Somebody who would know a lot about that is Donald Trump's former acting attorney general, Matthew Whitaker, who's also just going beast mode on all of this.
Matt, I mean, as you look at this, why not put a gag order on not just Alvin Bragg, but any of these liberal district attorneys and Attorney General Letitia James? She loves to talk smack about Trump and how she's going to get him, quote.
She's been awfully quiet since the appeals court reduced that
didn't go their way.
bond amount. But, that being said, I think these gag orders are very dangerous, as you can imagine, because you have someone that's running for president that now has to be very careful with how and what they comment upon. I mean, the First Amendment doesn't say, unless you're being prosecuted, then you can't speak. The First Amendment is fairly broad in its protection of our right to speak and speak our minds. And so I think this judge ultimately it's got to be, tread very carefully. Obviously, the president is going to say what he wants to say, and these witnesses and others are going to say what they want to say about Donald Trump. I just think it's very anti-American to put a gag order on someone that is the leading candidate for one of the major parties.
At some point, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to have to be punishment for this. At some point, you're going to have to flip it around. You're going to have to prosecute Democrats who are criminals, make up crimes. Like, Christ talks a lot about eye for an eye, right? The whole world's blind. But Democrats who are criminals, you prosecute, right? Eventually, that's going to there's going to have to be turnabout is fair play. They're inexorably leading to this moment. The meltdowns, however, are exciting and are very special. And we, got to tell you, tough. We have a health update for you on the show. We are sodium deficient. All right, sodium deficient. Just got some labs in this morning. I need some salt. You need to help me out, get some more salt. Got you a clip here of Nicole Wallace having an absolute meltdown about this on air. Nicole Wallace freaking out. I gotta get some salt. She's so salty. The salt is flowing in DC. Help me, help you, help me by salting this lib in our salt.lib for the day.
So, it's time to do something different. Like, we're not going to have this conversation again. I have come on the air with breaking news about requests for gag orders because of threats for judges and their kids more times than I could count today before I got ready. And Judge Ludig, I think it's time, I don't know who has to write the banners at the bottom of my show. I'm sorry in advance. But Donald Trump broke the rule of law. And we should cover a broken judiciary in this country. Donald Trump managed to delay every federal criminal trial based on facts that he barely denies. Donald Trump managed to enlist the Supreme Court in a delay process, the highest court in the land. Donald Trump brazenly and repeatedly attacks not just judges, and I've had the privilege of sitting across not just from you, Judge Ludig, but from Judge Esther Salas, whose son was assassinated by a crazy person. Judges don't have Secret Service protecting them. They don't even always have, her child answered the door. What are we going to do different? Because Donald Trump sure as hell isn't changing.
Give him the Academy Award. I don't know who won any Academy. I don't watch the Oscars, but give her the Best Supporting Actress role there for sweet, sweet salt flowing. The salt must flow. The salt does flow on this show. Somebody who has provided so much salt for our liberal counterparts in Washington, D.C. as a congressman, and now as the CEO of Truth Social, formerly Trump Media Group. Ladies and gentlemen, Devin Nunes joins the program. Oh, Congressman, the salt was flowing when Donald Trump became one of the richest men on earth, surpassing George Soros and Mark Cuban earlier this week. We just want to thank you for that because it was really fun to cover.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no salt here. But, you said something that was really fascinating. I was listening to you before you came to me. And that is, you mentioned that you live in a red state and you feel safer there. And I think you said that every time Donald Trump flies over blue state, he gets indicted. There's something larger at play here, Benny. Please. And that is that New York, the state of New York, is the financial center of the world. And the message that they're destroying here, that they're sending, is that after 200 and some years of case law that's been built where people feel stable by being in New York, specifically New York City, that's being wiped away. I think you even have the, similar in all blue states. If you're a Republican, you have to try to get the hell out as fast as possible. And I hate to say that, as you know, I was from California, and California is just absolutely turning to hell. And I think we're at a different time in this country where, if you remember, and you're probably too young, Benny, but in the last recession, the Great Recession, you saw all the states suffered badly. What you have now is you have a situation where the blue states have record budget deficits, specifically California, but then you take states that are red, they're still in budget surpluses. I think it's going to speed up all of this nonsense, attacking Trump, the weaponization of the justice system. You're having a natural flow of people that are going to seek freedom are going to go to these red states. And of course, that's why we created True Social too. The more tyranny that the big tech companies place on the American people and people around the world, we're here offering a place for your voice and your freedom.
That's exactly right. And so it must be particularly offensive to you in your work, sir, to have Donald Trump gagged, because Donald Trump very much, and we cover often on the show, is popping off, spitting fire, spitting truth on Truth Social. And now they are eliminating his first of rights as Americans, and our natural right, and his right to speak freely. This is offensive to us, but it must be particularly offensive to you.
Yeah, remember, right? That's why Truth Social was created. Remember, they kicked Donald Trump off of every social media platform there was. So I left Congress in order to create Truth Social. It's joking, but it's true. Donald Trump didn't need a new company, and I didn't need a new job. But the fact is that we had to have this, and now you've got the court. So we opened up the internet. Donald Trump and millions of people are able to speak freely on Truth Social, being that they were kicked off of all the other platforms. And now what happens? Courts, judges are stepping in to silence him. And look, this is what you see, it can't be said enough. I spent a lot of my time when I was in Congress around the world, when I was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, in actual third world countries. And we would go there and we would focus on rule of law, making sure that the intelligence services weren't corrupt, the military wasn't corrupt. And we're the laughingstock. I mean, the same things that I saw in so many parts of the world, you see now happening in New York City.
Wow.
That's what's happening here.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, of course, why would you ever, let's say, I don't have the money to buy like a apartment in Beijing, but why would you buy a skyscraper in Beijing, right? Like, why would you buy someplace in downtown Caracas when the Venezuelan government can just take it? Like, you would never want the terrible use of capital, right? And they're not going to compensate you for that. They're simply going to steal from you. They've done this with the oil companies, obviously. China does this all the time. China stops trading on their own stock market when they don't want it. It's not free. So then you dry up the capital, and money, the nature of money is that it's going to flow, obviously, to products like yours, because people believe in your mission, but also it's going to flow freely through the path of least resistance. And if the government is resisting, you're going to destroy, California and New York are going to turn into the third world under these conditions.
Yeah, and look, in many respects, they are. In my home city, I was in the central part of California, the agricultural area. My family, been there 100 years, and it's one of the safer, more peaceful places in California. We didn't have any homeless to speak of, 10 years ago. In my little home city, 60,000 people. Today, you can walk around and you can see hundreds and hundreds of them just in my little city. Now, taken in contrast, I spend, True Social headquarters is in Sarasota, Florida. You go to Sarasota, Florida. I'm not going to say all of Florida, they have, no homeless, and it's not zero. But, it's pretty difficult to find homeless in Sarasota. And they do a pretty, they're there. The government seems to handle them, the local services, the police, they work with them, much like California used to be just 5-10 years ago. It's no longer the case anymore. So you really are seeing these places are unsafe. I was in New York City a few weeks ago. I mean, this is not a safe place. I saw all of the illegal invasion immigrants, running around there. And I think you're exactly right. Why, if you don't have rule of law, why would you make investments in these states? And that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. That's why I can speak personally. Many of my family members have moved out of the state of California. And I can tell you, it's not because they didn't like the weather. I mean, California still has the most blessed piece of real estate on the planet. But when the government goes to hell, even the best places people will flee from. And that's what's happening in California. That's what's happening in New York. And that's why you see so many people moving to places like Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma, you name it.
I want to talk obviously about going public this last week. Ticker DJT is a massive success. It's been obviously like ups and downs in the market all over the place for the past couple of years. But this has been seen as nothing more than a resounding success. Does Donald Trump know that he's richer now than George Soros? Did he like send him a note? Do you guys plan on like sending him a cake? About that. Well, look, tell me about the wild last week, sir.
The most important thing here is that we have shareholders that have wanted to invest in their right to free speech. And as I think True Social is just the one feature, the first feature that we came out with. We were held up, once again, for over 2 years from having access to the capital market. So people that wanted to invest in us could not. Finally, we freed that up. It took us a lot of time, more time than any normal company. I think we're the longest IPO in history. We'll have to go check that, but I'm pretty sure that we are. And now we're debt free. We have cash in the bank. And now we're looking forward to building the entire ecosystem out. So, we want to make sure that if you're a content creator or you're a business, that you have access to the internet. It's really about a free and open internet so that the big tech companies that control everything, that we can't be and nobody can be canceled. That's our goal. That's what we've done at True Social. And that's what we're going to continue to do across the whole ecosystem as we continue to build the company.
Very quickly, we saw actually Vivek Ramaswamy was on our show and he said, that Trump just met with Elon, right? And we didn't know that and the news wasn't public yet. And so any insights on what happened during that meeting?
I don't. I mean, I read, it's funny, the fake news that reports this as if they know something. We joke because I can't remember. Oh, it was the Washington Post. And, of course, they had all these conspiracy theories about what was happening at the meeting. We put out there that, no, actually what we heard they were talking about is that Trump and Elon wanted to buy the Washington Post. But ultimately in the meeting, they decided it wasn't worth anything. So it wasn't worth buying.
Okay, that's good. All right. And finally, one quick thing from this past week, and I was really excited to have you on the program today because I wanted to talk to you about it because you have such specific insight here. James Comer said that the deep state's been interfering in his investigation, and specifically the FD 1023 FBI source that exposed the Bidens and allegedly a secret corrupt deal with Ukraine to get big payments. Well, that guy was arrested for lying to the FBI. Now, I'm not saying he did lie. I'm just saying that those are the charges, right? Apparently, this guy was an FBI source for 22 years, was paid, was given big money because he was such a great source. Now, suddenly, boom, he's in prison for lying. Yeah. You exposed Christopher Steele's lies, like blatant, demonstrable lies in Russiagate, and Hillary Clinton's lies. In fact, there was an entire rat's nest. I could probably name off the top of my head a dozen people, and you could name probably 300 people that lied to the federal government in that saga. Yet nothing, sir. I wanted to get your comment on that.
It's really the same saga. So it's really the same story. So you can take it back to, definitely the Obama administration. It's all the same players, Benny. So the same people, when people say deep state, of course, everybody claims it's a conspiracy theory. But really what the deep state is, it's a bunch of Obama people, some Clinton people that have been put all over the government, but precisely inside of the Department of Justice. And a lot of people say, well, CIA and this is bad. But no, they all have problems, but it's all coming from the Justice Department and the FBI. And so the FBI will go out to CIA, or the FBI will go over to the military. And then when they say, oh, it's an open investigation, we can't talk about it. That's what my colleagues in Congress are suffering under. Same people, same players, same exact playbook that they've been running. We caught them in 2016. For sure, we caught them in 2017. We exposed it all. But Benny, don't think this is like, some grand problem that you have to figure out. It's already been figured out. It's the same people. They've never left government. And, a lot of people, for example, okay, you've got Merrick Garland. He's a figurehead. You can tell that he's really not in charge most of the time. But if you look right underneath him, You take, Lisa Monaco, the deputy attorney general. She's been in some position with Clinton, Obama, et cetera, all the way through this. And as anybody who's worked in government will tell you, it's not the figureheads that run it for the most part. It's the deputies. And that's where a lot of this damage is being done, with the deputies, the general counsels, and everything in between. So, I just say that what Comer and my former colleagues are dealing with here, they're just running the exact same playbook. And the challenge is right now, I think, for the Republicans is they've got to, they just have to unite. I've told them, quit focusing on, if it were me, I would have just done a continuing resolution just every 30 days, just do a rolling continuing resolution. I know people don't like that, but the opposite side of that is that you let Biden and company spend, because you have to ultimately cut a deal with them. I've been very clear, focus on subpoenas, focusing, the more subpoenas they send out, the more interviews they do. They should never stop doing interviews. And a lot of people only see what's out public, where you see, the hearings where, you got 5 minutes for this guy, 5 minutes for that guy. That's not where the work's done. The work is done in the private depositions, where you bring someone in for 8 hours, right? So a good example of that is, remember our old friend, America's favorite FBI agent, James Comey. So, he could get up there and, he's a trained lawyer, very sophisticated guy. You could have him in front of an audience, and he was impossible. You get 5 minutes, you ask him, you start to ask one question, he pontificates for 3 minutes, then you got to get one point in, and boom, it's gone. But go back and look at the depositions that he did back in 17 and 18. And I think he said, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't know, some hundreds of times in a 7-hour deposition. So that's what's happening here. There's what's behind the scenes. And I would just encourage the Republicans, more subpoenas, more depositions. You don't need to go out and have big fanfare and have a hearing. You just got to bring all these people in. And ultimately, hopefully we get this two-tier justice system is blown out of the water, because we get a new president, we get a good attorney general. And I think John Ratcliffe, my former colleague, former head of the Director of National Intelligence, he said it best. The whole damn thing needs to be turned up, dumped out. Everybody's got to go across all the top levels. That's what has to happen. If that doesn't happen, New York's going to get worse, because they can't help themselves. All the good people are leaving. The Republicans are leaving. So, everybody thinks, all these different characters that are at the top are bad. In California, what we've seen, when you get rid of Jerry Brown, which he was a lifelong liberal, left-wing. Everybody knew he's left-wing. Oh man, it can't get worse than him. Well, guess what? It got a lot worse here after Jerry Brown. And that is what's going to happen in all these other states as people continue to move.
It can get worse. It can always get worse. You need to fight back, which is what you're doing at Truth Social. We say Godspeed, sir, and we thank you, obviously, for your fights. What a jump that you that you made, and also what an incredible path that you've blazed for people who believe in free speech, which we certainly do. So,
well, Benny, I just say, if I can just say,
please,
if you think about this, this is really kudos to you. If you go back, and you and many others like you, back in, if you only go back to even 17 and 18 during the Russia hoax days, there were hardly any podcasts, right? Yeah, Rumble didn't exist hardly. YouTube would, Rumble was brand new. YouTube would shadow ban you. Facebook would shadow ban you. People like you and many like you had no voice. And I think all of this is making a difference. Like what you're doing, the followers that you have on your show, all of your buddies, you're friends with all of them. This new ecosystem that has developed here is changing America. And it's educating America, and, not to just be repetitive here, but it gives people comfort that maybe before could only watch 4 or 5 channels. They had to read the usual fake news outlets. That's where they got their news. Today, you have so many Americans who are just turning it all off. They're turning on your show, turning on other shows like you, and they're learning. They're actually learning what's going on. And then ultimately people say, whoa, I don't have to live in third world BS. I can actually go, to another state and do better. So people are voting with their pocketbooks. by moving, right? They're moving to places, and it's not just about their pocketbooks. It's also about their freedom. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. But, we really are transforming this country because of shows like yours.
We're so deeply thankful. It's all about the audience, and it's all about saving this country. So it's a great motivation, actually. Puts a pep in our step every day.
And I'm glad you're doing it, my friend.
Godspeed, Congressman. Thank you so much for your work, and we'll see you online.
My pleasure.
It takes an enormous amount of energy to fight these Marxists, and it seems like the headed Hydra, right? Out of old Greek lore, right? You feel like you've defeated one battle, and then 7 new heads pop up. Okay, these Marxists. I don't understand. Where do they all come from? Oh, the universities. Okay, got it. I understand. Now I understand. Go look at the university. Find me a right-wing or conservative university. Okay, now I understand. Got it. So you need energy to fight the Marxists. You got to drink that energy. That's the way that I do it. And I drink Blackout coffee every single morning. Blackout coffee has that delicious anti-communist bean that is all natural, that is ground, and it is tasty. It is chocolatey. I drink my coffee black. My firearms. I don't know. I don't drink my firearms. But anyway, you can see on the wall back there. Sweet. Shout out Spike Tactical. Ladies and gentlemen, Blackout Coffee is 100% committed to conservative values, sourcing the beans, the roasting process, the customer support, the shipping. They are incredible. We love them. Our personal endorsement. And, gives me the energy to fight the commies. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Be awake, not woke. Is RFK Jr. awake? I don't know, man. I've been kind of squishy on the guy. I've seen a bunch of stuff pop up about him. And been like, I don't know about this guy. So I'm not gonna hype him a bunch on the show. We used to hype him a lot on the show, but then he's getting kind of dodgy. But lo and behold, RFK Jr. goes on CNN last night. And of course, all these people, Operation Mockingbird, they're all just handed, you heard Devin Nunes talk about it, they're all just handed talking points, and they're dying, atrophying, decaying audiences, and their job is to scream the same talking point. So the new talking point rolled out is threat to democracy. Okay, Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. The predicate there is obviously threats to democracy. We can use our intelligence agencies, right, in order to stifle or eliminate these threats to democracy. Got it? Remember, JFK was a threat to democracy. And so RFK, who's JFK's nephew, RFK's father, also was done quite dirty under very suspicious circumstances. You can go listen to RFK about that. That guy's done an enormous amount of research. He was on CNN last night asking about how Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, and ain't nobody knows the evils of our deep state and super state more than the Kennedy family, actually. And RFK, who is running for president as an independent, has a running mate and everything, said this about Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, and who's the real threat? Ooh, this is amazing.
But do you really believe that when people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. President Biden, for the first first president in history to use his power over the Secret Service to deny Secret Service protection to one of his political opponents for political reasons. He's weaponizing the federal agencies. Those are really critical threats to democracy.
Donald Trump, of course.
Oh, you just. I always think about Toy Story. You ever seen Toy Story? A lot of people seen Toy Story. You love Woody. You know, Woody is the cowboy, right? And it's this running gag during Toy Story where Woody gets his pull string caught on something, and there's a snake in my boot. Somebody's poisoned the water hole. And it is what I think about in moments like this. Because RFK just went on like an absolute Giga Chad breakdown of how Joe Biden is the actual fascist. Joe Biden's the actual threat to democracy. Joe Biden's the guy who is breaking every election law in order to make sure that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of ballots just come in at 3 a.m. Nobody knows where they're from. No signature verifications. Freshly printed ballots get shoved into machines, and only in swing states. Of course, we stop the voting. Joe Biden's the guy who's trying to put his political enemies in prison. We spent a whole show talking about that. Joe Biden's the guy who's trying to eliminate your free speech, who's opened up the border so that criminal enterprises, gangs, and who the hell knows who else can come into the country. Joe Biden's the guy who's trying to sell our natural resources. The communist Chinese. Is that a threat to democracy? Wouldn't a threat to democracy be bringing in 10 million new voters who aren't American citizens to hand them paper mail-in ballots that are unaccountable with no signature verifications, and then suing the states, trying to create rigid electoral systems to stop that fraud? The DOJ is suing Arizona right now. We can pull it up. The DOJ is suing Arizona right now because they want signature verification and citizenship verification. I kid you not. Can we find this? My jaw dropped. This is from 2022. The DOJ sued the state of Arizona because they wanted to have citizenship verification in their elections. So are you a U.S. citizen voting here? The DOJ Civil Rights Division sued and said that was racist. It was racist to ask somebody if they're a citizen of America. Do you see where this is going? Sues Arizona over election law requiring that you're a U.S. citizen. How much more do you need? How much more mask off moment can you get? You're saying Donald Trump's a threat to democracy? And this is going on? I mean, on its face, we don't have a democracy. Okay, we have a constitutional republic, but not even that is operational when you don't have citizens voting. When you have no mechanism to tell if it's only Americans voting in your election. Well, then you just have like a globalist, then you just have a global election, right? Then it's actually the wet dream of the George Soroses and the Klaus Schwabs of the world, where the entire world gets to vote in America's elections. Citizenship be damned. Like what your great-grandfathers, grandmothers, your ancestors did to build this country, all of them be damned. We're going to import people into this nation in order to fill red states, obviously, with people who are pledged entire fealty to the welfare state that we promised them until the checks run out. Of course, everything's great until there's no more money, right? Everything's great until the entire system collapses. Those people pledge fealty to the Democrat Party, and then we're able to flip states like Arizona, which was a consistently very, very red state. Barry Goldwater's from, best senator in American history. Florida, we now find out that Florida is the landing spot for all of Joe Biden's flights. At least like 300,000 criminal aliens has been flown directly into Florida. Like, how do you stop this? We are not a serious country. Biden's just straight up flying people in now. And it's happening to these red states on purpose. They trialed it in California. Devin Nunes is on talking about it. The trial was in California. And they figured out how to do it in California. Reagan's amnesty flips California blue forever, right? Traitorous action, truly a traitorous action. Elon Musk responding actually to our tweet about this, about RFK, talking about who the real threats to democracy are, saying Biden doesn't really know what's going on. It's the far left machine that is responsible. And we spent an entire show yesterday talking about this. How like Biden is just a vessel. He's a man who doesn't believe anything. He doesn't believe in anything. He's a weak, cretinous man who has no actual convictions or morals, couldn't stop it. He's a perfect person for this moment because the leftist movement itself is a movement that has no morals, no truth. It is simply the blob. It's an amalgamation of whatever is trendy right now. That happens to be critical race theory, like critical theory, Marxist theory. Everything's racist, everything's stolen land. Equity, right? Equal outcomes instead of equal opportunity. It's the remaking of America. Little did we know when Barack Obama said we're going to transform America, what he meant. Would any of you take back your votes for Barack Obama if you knew? A lot of people voted for Barack Obama. If you knew what that actually meant, take all the glitz and glamour and all the like sparkles out of it and just take it at its core. Are we living in a better America now? Are we living in an America that's better now, or was it better 20 years ago? Like now people can't even agree on the American flag. You have the LSU team last night walking out on the American flag. Wild. Like these kind of things, of course, would be the players would never. 20 years ago, those players would never play again, right? The coach would be banned. We actually had things that united us as a country. We don't live in a better country. We live in a country that's broken and needs uniting badly. And Joe Biden is, of course, the man who broke it. Joe Biden's the man who made sure that there was going to be an empty vessel in the White House that was the repository for every repulsive and despicable leftist ideology, Marxist ideology, failed Marxist ideology that is bubbled up in academia, and now that like infuses Joe Biden. It's exactly what Joe Biden. I mean, yesterday, Joe Biden didn't even know about his declarations, his own declarations, Trans Day of Visibility on Easter. Joe Biden didn't even know that happened. Joe Biden denied it even happened. So Elon Musk is so right here. We talked about it yesterday. We just nailed it, right? We nailed it yesterday. Joe Biden is simply a empty vessel, like low wavelength repository, barely warmed up, preheated repository of leftist bile and talking points. They're just using the man as a meat muppet to get their results. He's not in charge of anything. And RFK calling him out here is spectacular. Good for you, RFK. Good for you. Ladies and gentlemen, more bad news for the Bidens. I guess somebody who still has a little bit of gunpowder left in the chamber is Hunter Biden, right? Daddy's shot. Daddy can't make it up the stairs. But Hunter Biden is fighting for his life in federal court, yet the judge ain't buying it. Hunter Biden dealt another blow as judge tosses effort to have tax charges dismissed, says accusations of politically motivated Biden charges are based on hearsay. Uh-oh. What's going on here? Let's read. Apparently the judge was pretty mean to Hunter Biden yesterday. Hunter Biden wanted to get all of his counts thrown out. And none of the counts were thrown out. Hunter Biden wanted to get all of it dismissed, all these federal charges for tax fraud dismissed. And the judge wasn't having it. Hunter dealt another blow as judge tosses the effort to have his tax charges dismissed, says accusation of politically motivated Biden based on hearsay. Judge Mark Scarsey determined that 3 felony charges and 6 misdemeanor charges could not be deemed political. The motivation is remarkable in that it fails to include a single declaration request from the judicial notice Trump appointee Mark Scarsey wrote. Uh-oh. So you got a Trump appointee trying this case. It's not going to be good. Hunter has lost an effort to have 8 criminal charges against him thrown out as judge Monday night allowed the tax fraud case to move forward. Judge Mark Scarsey determined that 3 felony, 6 misdemeanor charges, tax evasion, filing false return, failing to pay over $1 million in taxes between 2016 and 2019 could not be deemed political, as Hunter's attorneys argued. This is the best argument. Their best argument is that this is a political thing. Dude, have you read the rule? Have you read what they charged him with? It's undeniable. I mean, it's egregious. They have his ATM record. They have the bank records. When you have the bank records, you have there's no arguing with the bank records. You also have these text messages with his. Remember how Joe Biden's restoring the decency of the White House? You have the text messages with Hunter Biden lying to the mother of his children about not having any money and spending close to $1 million on hookers and blow in the same year, saying he can't pay alimony. This is the same Hunter Biden that abandoned, of course, his own child, and then forced grandpa to abandon the child. Joe Biden still messes up how many grandchildren he has. Get me in the same room as Joe Biden, okay? I often think about this, actually, because there's a chance, right? There's a chance that the way things go, you might take an elevator with or be in the same room as Joe Biden. And so what would I ask? If I had a camera with me, I got to tell you, here's what I'd ask. I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if there's any more painful of a question than this. How many grandkids you got? I would do it. I would do it. I would absolutely do it. Some of you might think I'm wrong for saying that. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you think there's a better question. I would say if I got one chance to pop one question to Joe Biden, then I would say, how many grandkids do you have? Shove a microphone right in his face. Hey, how many grandkids you got? Pop. Answer. Answer, pal. Would he be able to say that I have 7 grandkids? Does he know his grandkids? What an important moment. We know that Joe Biden blanked when asked about the date that his son died. Not trying to make fun of it, but it is what it is. It's in the official report on the guy's mental state. Does he know his grandkids? Because for a very long time, they refused to acknowledge their biological granddaughter named Navy Joan Roberts. She lives in Arkansas. And mother had to sue for years the Biden family to simply acknowledge the granddaughter's existence. Yeah. So not moral people, all right? Not moral people. They're trying to get all these charges tossed. Special counsel David Weiss brought these charges. The judge wrote, the motion is remarkable in that it fails to include a single declaration, exhibit, or request for a judicial notice. Instead, defendant cites portions of various internet news sources, social media posts, and legal blogs. These citations, however, are not evidence. Scarsey said that the sources contain multiple levels of hearsay and failed to present a reasonable interference, let alone clear evidence of discriminatory effect and discriminatory purpose. This judge is not messing around. This judge is now brutalizing Hunter Biden. The charges stem from what federal prosecutors say is a 4-year scheme to skip out on paying $1.4 million he owed to the IRS and instead use the money to fund extravagant lifestyle of drugs and alcohol and hookers. The charges span from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Hunter Biden, 53, had also been charged in Delaware with lying on a federal gun form where he swore he wasn't addicted to drugs while he was on drugs. Then what happened to that gun? Ooh, so good. They don't want it to come out. It's not, man. I feel like we're back home, Royce. I feel like we're back home talking about Hunter Biden and his guns and the Hunter Biden case. We haven't done this in a while. It's very fun. Hunter Biden got into a fight. So he gets the gun illegally. Hunter Biden gets into a fight with his dead brother's widow that he's banging. Sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what's happening. They get in a fight. She takes the gun. ALX, make sure that I'm getting the details right here. She takes the gun and then throws it. I think it was loaded. I assume it's loaded. Takes the illegally obtained gun from the crackhead brother of her husband, who passed away, and throws it into a dumpster that's next to a school. So, whenever Joe Biden does some random screed about guns and schools and children, remind him, maybe this would be my second follow-up question. How many grandkids you got? And what do you think about your son throwing a loaded firearm into a bin next to a school any kid could have found? In fact, a bum ended up finding it. Do you know this? The way they found the gun was a bum rummaged through the trash and found the loaded firearm and turned it in. The homeless guy was more moral than Joe Biden's son. Got it? Yeah, Jill Biden has the audacity to tweet this. Jill Biden has the audacity to say this about her family. Decency is on the ballot. Yeah, okay. Let's go look at some decency. Just real fast, real quickly, because we haven't been here in a long time. I feel like I'm home. Hunter Biden spent a staggering $872,000 on prostitutes, porn, and sex club memberships. Took a $1.6 million from ATMs. This is all laid bare from the federal government. Where are you getting this from, Benny? InfoWars? Nope. The feds and their charging of Hunter Biden. How wild is that? Between 2016 and 2019, prosecutors argued that the first son spent almost $5 million on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, luxury hotels, rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. And then, of course, he wrote off all of those charges. Not allowed to do that. Wrote off being a member of a sex club as a business expense. Decency is on the ballot. Always remember Jill Biden's crackly little raspy grandma voice, truck stop grandma voice. Decency is on the ballot, right? She clothes herself in another shower curtain from Bed Bath & Beyond. Big discount, though. They're going out of business, so huge days for Jill. It is wild to see. You can see here in the article what he spent his money on. Toss it up. Hunter's 4 years of wild spending. An important thing to note, that while he was spending literally millions of dollars a year on various things like payments to various women, what would he be paying women for? $683,000. ATM cash withdrawals. I mean, you're gonna be able to see all the cash. What are you doing? What are you doing with all that cash? Who takes out $1.6 million in cash? Have you ever seen $1 million cash? I've never seen $1 million cash. You ever taken it out of an ATM? Dude, you're buying drugs. That's what you're doing. You're buying cash. You're spending that cash on drugs. And that's effectively what it says, ladies and gentlemen. That's the drug payments. Okay? Adult entertainment, $188,000 on adult entertainment. I mean, these are the prices of houses somewhere. Okay? So depending on where, I'm from Iowa. You can go get a house for $188,000 in Iowa. Absolutely you can. You can certainly get houses for $300,000 and $600,000, which is what he spent on clothing and accessories, along with prostitutes. Wow. I mean, truly remarkable. Isn't it amazing how little he spends on is there the credit card payment? Okay. Childcare. Look at that. Home help, cleaning, childcare. There it is, right there at the very bottom. There's 2 years he didn't spend any money on childcare. Okay, so he spends money on everything except for taking care of his children. Got it? That's it. Everything except the care for his children. Decency on the ballot. Remember, truck stop grandma, Jill Biden. Decency is on the ballot. Yeah. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for drugs and hookers and exotic goods and $0 on childcare. When he has, I don't know, how many kids he got? How many kids he got? 4 or 5 kids. I don't know how many children he has. But he has enough to actually need to spend money on childcare for them. Isn't that something, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't that something? Well, what do you know? Oh, just a final in that article. Yeah, in that article, just a final photo. Just a reminder of this photo. When decency is on the ballot. Just a reminder, this is Hunter Biden, the war on women. Remember, Democrats talk a lot about war on women. Just an important reminder. ladies and gentlemen. This is what they're talking. This is who they're defending in their war on women. Decency is on the ballot. Yeah. There you go. But who's going to ask? Anybody going to ask? In fact, when Hunter Biden gets asked about this, he flees. Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to ask Hunter Biden about this, and he ran. He literally sprinted out of the room. Coward. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the choice for 2024. Hunter Biden is getting hammered. Not this time, not by the cocaine or the Parmesan lost in his carpet, but by the judge. It does seem like he's going to have a bad one. The Justice Department says Hunter Biden will face 17 years in prison for the tax charges and 25 years for the gun charges. Ooh, baby. In dual cases that could have devastating impact on his father's presidential campaign. When does this go to trial? When does this go to trial? Let's just find that out. It's really important here. I mean, it should have gone to trial years ago. These crimes were years ago. But this means Hunter Biden's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Could spend the rest of his life in prison, right? Because you're looking at there 40 years. Hunter Biden's in his 50s. So that puts Hunter Biden at, if he lives to 100 years old, he's still in prison, right? With these charges. Or damn near. So, not great. Is this going to be something where Joe Biden pardons his son on his way out of office after we beat their asses in 2024? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But you should just refile the charges immediately, right? Just refile the charges. We'll see. Once again, it would show you exactly how the entire system works, too. I hope he does it. I really hope he does it. Really hope he does it. I hope that Joe Biden pardons his son for the crimes that he locked up hundreds of thousands of young black men for. Maybe that's another question I'd ask. How many grandkids you got? Are you okay with your son putting a loaded gun in a dumpster next to a high school? And then are you why did you put hundreds of thousands of black men in prison for, remember, this much crack cocaine? Joe Biden giving that famous speech. If you have this much crack cocaine, 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Okay. Mandatory minimum sentencing. Brought to you by Joe Biden. That locked up hundreds of thousands of young black men. But his son wasn't found with this much cocaine. His son, this much crack. His son was found with crack piles the size of Mount St. Helens. But no one's ever locked him up. Isn't that fascinating? And now Joe Biden may go pardon him. So wouldn't that be a story? Wouldn't that tell America everything they need to know about our ruling elites? Much like we started off the show with Donald Trump exposing Hillary Clinton to her face. That would really prove it, wouldn't it? That would really stick, wouldn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to fight the good fight with us, we encourage you to go to BennyJohnson.com. Sign up for the Benny Brigade today. If you sign up for the Benny Brigade, you keep our show independent. You will be shipped exclusively from us the Benny Brigade keychain, which is so choice, made by American veterans. American flag keychain with the tank, the Salty Army tank on it. The sweet tank that shoots pure salt, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, you keep us independent. And you make sure that we can carry on and do these shows and have these guests and have these conversations without the corporate strings to tie us down, which does seem to be a big problem in conservative media today. Our verse of the day from Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. Do we not feel this verse? We say it all the time. We are not fighting Democrats on this program. We are fighting demons. We believe that. There is no way that you can look at the world and see the evil in the world and not know that there's a God, because there has to actually be a counterbalance to this evil that you watch. Too many things to name, too many fronts of evil. There must be a counterbalance. It almost proves the existence of God. And then more importantly, it proves that we will be victorious. Christ is risen. Christ is king. We will be victorious, ladies and gentlemen. And the victory is ours assured. So march with us. Fight these spiritual battles. We are fighting for the future of this country. Because, quite frankly, it's the best that we got. It's all we got. It's the last hope. It's the last hope. This was a good country. It was founded by good people that founded it rightly and wished for there to be rights that you have given to you by God, and we wish to protect them. Period. Period. Join us, ladies and gentlemen. March towards victory. You can't defeat. Happy Warriors. It's your boy, Benny. See ya.